should I address my age in the additional info section if I was held back a year due to moving from abroad/different education system?
I would recommend, sure. And it doesn't have to be a whole essay. It could just be because the application is going to ask you about your academic progression. So you can address it there and just say, I was held back here because maybe the school wanted you to adjust to culture or anything like that. You could just go ahead and list it, absolutely. But you don't need to make it into a whole long, dramatic piece. Just say, I switched schools, switched countries, and repeated whatever grade it was.
hmm Okay, this next question is a little lengthy. I will try to read
Mhm.
it quickly, but also clearly. So, along the
Okay.
lines of single parent household, can you speak to homeschooled students' chances at admissions? For example, if a student had to take a year off due to a family emergency or circumstance, and one does not have a formal transcript and two switched schools frequently/, mid year, is that something that can be explained in an essay? But it will obviously have some effect on the student's ability to devote time to padding their application with extracurriculars, research, internships. Any insights to share?
I think that still falls into the category of here's my circumstance. And a reason why I say this is, especially when we have a single parent household and having to apply to college as such, each student has a different background on what they're doing. All eight Ivies, Stanford, MIT, wherever you're looking, do accept students who are homeschooled. But again, it's about what did you do? What was your circumstance? Yeah, I'll give you a real far flung one. My niece started college at 14. She was homeschooled. Showed you what they thought about her, and they gave her a scholarship. You have to present your circumstance as it is, why you made those choices. So it could be for a variety of reasons, but you have to be able to make that clear to the admission officers. There's no, again, one answer of no, homeschool kids don't stand a chance. We're
hmm
still going to look at the transcripts from that year. If students are choosing their activities and what they've done and be able to say what they did. Families have gone on boats. They basically have sailed an ocean for a year and have listed that. People take time off for whatever the reasons are, but you have to explain it to admission officers. But there's no one right or wrong. But the point is, it's their family's decision, is what they chose to do.
hmm Sometimes I believe in this area of wanting to get into the most successful college that there is a stigma that any kind of setback can be negatively impactful to a student's application. So it's nice to hear that's all depending on context. We have a few questions about concurrent enrollment at community college and how that submitting the transcript would work or how that is viewed in colleges during the admissions process.
I had a situation this year where there was a student who was an athlete and he was basically being recruited by five different Ivy League schools. He was a really good wide receiver, he's very fast. But what he didn't realize, his family had encouraged him to take the dual enrollment classes. But when he came up against the Ivy League schools, they were like, community colleges are usually taught by adjunct faculty. So we don't really know what the quality of the course you're taking. And so basically they were like, we're not giving you credit. We recognize that you're going above and beyond your school's academics, and we praise and admire you for that. But for some schools, you're not going to get the credits. If you're applying to a school within your, like let's say you do live in California, you went to a community college in California, UC schools, Cal State schools will take those because it's within their system. If you're going outside of your state, there's no guarantee that a school's going to take those courses either because it might not be part of their system. They could be a quarter school and their child went to a semester school. There are a whole bunch of factors that play into that. Mainly do it because the student is taking on challenges that they believe shows that they're really dedicated to their academics. If you are staying in state, it's a lock. You'll get those credits from one state school to another, no problem. But it's not a guarantee of admission, and it's not a guarantee that someone's going to use the credits once they get there. So how higher level schools will look at it is, hey, this is great. You went above and beyond your high school, and that's cool.
We have a few questions about superscores and how those
Mhm.
work and when should students take the SAT or maybe ACT? Can you speak on that?
Sure. First and foremost, if you haven't done any research on either test, you should look at them because they're both different in terms of the sections and what they're asking. The super score is just if you get a higher score, like if you take the SAT and you get a 500 verbal or the English section and you get a 600 in the math section, then next time you take it, you get a 600 in the English section, but a 590 in the math section. You would take the two 600s because they're the top score in each section. Then your SAT becomes a 1200 rather than an 1190 or something along those lines. Schools will super score, so you would submit all the scores, and then they would do the super scoring in that respect. If you self-report, you'll pretty much do the same thing. You'll report each score that you've taken, and then they'll take the top ones from that. And that's what that means in terms of they put it together. It could make for a larger score. And
Mhm.
again, both tests are different from one another. We at Ingenious do a diagnostic where students can take both tests to get an idea of what might be a better test for the student. Again, back to students and their specific candidacy.
Our last question, and I know that there are a lot that we did not get to. Feel free to ask these questions on your consultation, or you can email them to me and we can get these questions answered for you. But this last one is about letters of recommendation. Is there
Mhm.
a standard format for letters of recommendations from teachers, and can guidance counselors also be included on that to get recommendations from?
Yeah, typically from teachers would be best because they can directly address your child's academic performance. Some schools will send in a counselor rec as a matter of course for the school. I know a number of boarding schools will do something like that. So check with your school to see what they do. But having a teacher is helpful. Again, selecting how well they know the student as well as also the subject that they're teaching can tie directly into the major that the student's going to take. It's going to give the admission officers more information.